Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about CleanSpark and Bitcoin. We're going to talk about the daily chart, the weekly chart. We'll also take a look at the open options interest for CleanSpark, not for Bitcoin though. And then we'll talk about price targets on both of them, talk about when I'm going to add, when I'm going to trim. We'll have a quick look at some news. I don't think there's too much news out whilst I was away, so we'll talk about some other topics if there's no news available, and we'll take a quick look at what's coming up on the macro calendar. Other than that, you can check out my live portfolio over on eToro. The link for that is in the description down below. I'm just going to check up my portfolio progress for year to date here. So first off, apologies. I've been quite ill since New Year. Half my family got knocked out with a bug, which was super nice. I'm still a bit coughy, spluttery, so apologies if I do any of that during this video. So let's just hop straight into the CleanSpark chart. I have been keeping an eye on the market, but I haven't made too many moves. I basically used the cash that I deposited on the first. That's about it. So CleanSpark chart, we had this really nice pop here, and we've faded off a lot. We've got a lot of fear in the market at the minute, and Bitcoin's failing to make new highs. It's just kind of range bound. My gut's telling me Bitcoin price is going to fall down, so I expect miners to fall down with it. That happens, we'll probably get a break low here for CleanSpark. I wouldn't imagine it to get much lower than $8. I mean, the price right now is ridiculous for CleanSpark. The short interest is super high still. We'll talk about that in the news section. But other than that, though, the chart downside support is going to be kind of $9.29 for the next one. RSI looks pretty good. We can go up or down here. Plenty of room either way. We're very active in the def cross for the MACDX Plus. We did have the oversold signal, which we had a nice move up as well. So overall, if I had cash, I'd be buying CleanSpark right now. I know a lot of people are hating on it. It's probably one of the most hated stocks, as well as most of the other miners. A lot of people capitulating, selling out of everything. Too much risk for their taste. But for me, I like it. It's a bargain right now. I think it should be priced closer between $20 and $30. So absolute steal deal right now. Am I going to add more? Probably not. I'm quite overweight in this position already. Might add more if we drop below $8, but I don't see that happening during this cycle. I expect during the kind of the tail end of this month that we'll bottom out on Bitcoin and CleanSpark and all that stuff. But to the upside, prices really haven't changed my targets and stuff. So I will probably trim out. Where did I say I would trim out? Probably take a bunch off the table when we get to this 1789. And then when we get higher, I'd mostly be out $20 to $30. I do think it should be worth more than that when Bitcoin price starts to rise, and we should get quite a powerful squeeze on this one now if the short interest stays where it is. But yeah, it's a bit of an annoying one. Obviously, we had my squiggle here that I predicted price would happen at, and it's just not done that. What I didn't foresee on this one is the convertible notes stuff all going on in the bond market going mental. The arbitrage play on this is suppressing price still quite a lot, and that's causing retail and stuff to wash out. Institutions are still buying though, which is interesting. I'll make sure I put that on the news section. Okay, so looking at the open options interest for CleanSpark, we've got support sitting at $9, which is perfectly in line with the recent low on the chart, which makes sense. We are below kind of where a lot of the volume sits at $10. We also have a lot of interest in $10, $15, and $20. So market makers probably would be buying quite a lot at $10. I mean, we've dropped below that, so let's push it out a week, see what's happening. Really not a whole lot of interest in puts on this one, so it looks fairly bullish from an options market angle. So I'm struggling to get my words out. My brain's still a bit fuzzy from being sick. Push it out another week towards the end of January, and things look really good setup here for a potential bounce. I think if we get a squeeze, price is going to move very rapidly on this one. It's just what's going to trigger people to go net long on this one. The institutions, for the most part, are buying still. A lot of this is, the bond market wants to get hands on this, and they'll be arbitraging this as well, so they can make profits both ways. I did make a video a while back about it. You have to go back and find it. It was mainly about what's happening with the convertible deal and stuff like that. But yeah, happy with the options market on this one. Okay, so there's not too much on the news front for CleanSpark. Obviously, we hit the 10,000 Bitcoin held whilst I was sick. I think that was on it was about 5 days ago. Oh, well, it says there on the picture, doesn't it? So January 9th, we did hit that milestone, which is amazing. Short interest has rocketed again. I thought things were turning around and we are going to start shaving off some of that short interest. But I do think this is setting up for a short squeeze now at this point. If short interest continues to climb whilst price is so low, there's only so far that price can get pushed to the downside before people start covering. So hopefully that'll be soon. We'll talk about Bitcoin price as well, because I think Bitcoin runs the risk of falling down into the high 80s possibly. So we'll check that out. Okay, so taking a look at the Bitcoin chart, really not much has changed since my last update, even though that was a few weeks ago, mainly because we're so range bound on this. I do think price does look like it wants to break lower. Definitely the bull market support band, I think, would be the stronger support level, but below that, then we've got the 74k. I don't know if we're going to get that low. I think if we did, it would be a very short, sharp wick. If we do, I suggest buying that aggressively, and I'll be doing the same. But my upside targets really haven't changed, so still sitting between 240 to 80k. Yeah, really not a whole lot exciting happening in the market. We've got a lot of fear creeping in. There's a lot of buying opportunities coming. When we look at the macro data, I want to talk a little bit about on what's driving this fear. But for the most part, the charts still look good to me. CleanSpark's been battered a lot, but that's not purely a technical thing. That's market fear and the arbitrage play still being super dominant on that one. Okay, so I did want to talk a little bit about the economic data from Friday. We had the non-farm payroll. Obviously, that caused a lot of fear in the market because it was hot, hot, hot. We had a read of 256k, which is it's literally 56k higher than forecast, and it's way higher than consensus and higher than previous. So let's take a look at that data so we can see what's the crack going on. So blah blah blah. So employment trended up in healthcare and government. Government was 33k. Now these numbers and social assistance are easily caressed, whatever you want to call it. The government can add and trim what they want to kind of make numbers appear better or worse than they are. So I wanted to show you a couple of other charts that I thought were quite important. Employed usually work part-time. We added 200,000 part-time jobs, but full-time work, we lost 400,000 jobs. So the jobs data is not what it appears to be at first glance. A lot of weakening has been happening. We're rotating from full-time to part-time, and the data doesn't distinguish between full-time and part-time. So that's important to remember on that one. I do think the government added about well over 400,000 jobs last year, and obviously with Doge coming in, that's going to see some trims there. So it's going to be easier to spot weakness in the jobs market if we're going to get these government job trimming and efficiency, all that crap. If that comes in, jobs market is going to look terrible. As well as that, though, I wanted to talk a bit about what I think for the rest of the year. I think we're going to have a choppy start, and it's going to be better towards year end after old Trumpy boy gets his tariff threats out of the way. I think he's going to. Well, a lot of what he's doing is bravado. He's saying things to instill fear to get people to come to the table and make a deal. It's going to be very pro business, pro growth. So GDP should remain strong. Manufacturing should come back. So we should see some deflation there. I don't think inflation is as much of an issue as people think it is. Shelter is one of the key drivers of the inflation data. We've talked about it constantly for a long time. The shelter lag it's taking way longer than I thought to bleed out of the system. We've got the bond market being a bit crazy, which is sort of bumping up the mortgage rates artificially. and that's fear driven as well. So once we get through some of this fear, things should start to ease back very nicely, provided none of the tariffs do cause a drive up inflation. But I think if you take out shelter, we're way below the government preferred 2% rate. So I think that's a load of baloney as well. I think the market should be able to shake this off, and rates should continue to come down as well. It's still possible the Fed will pause. I don't know really what they're going to do, but it should be a cut. But then again, you've also got the stronger market. So maybe if we're going to pause, now's a good time to catch our breath. But we do run the danger of this job market becoming really unstable if Trump comes in and starts to cut all these government jobs. The numbers won't look good. But we do know that Trump won't be cutting them. Like, here's you 1 day's notice. There will be a bleed out period. So maybe this data doesn't deteriorate too fast, which should give some stability and maybe slightly more warrant that we will have a pause for longer. Let's just take a look at what data is coming out this week, though. This week, consumer inflation expectations today, probably a load of rubbish. PPI. Obviously, when this data comes out, you need to look into the data, see which goods are actually driving these numbers. We're expecting it to come down, which was good. Core PPI to stay the same. But yeah, it's important to know what's driving these. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this content, give it a like, share with your mum, your nan, your dad, your dog, and I will see you tomorrow for Tesla Tuesday.